In the 2nd century AD, the Roman Empire stood at the height of its power. Stretching from Britain to Mesopotamia, it was ruled by a succession of capable men, remembered today as the 5 good emperors. Under their leadership, Rome enjoyed a long period of stability, prosperity, and military success. However, Rome's political system rested upon an unsteady foundation. The man who occupied the imperial throne was not chosen through hereditary laws or elections. In practice, his authority depended upon the support of the army. Among Rome's many military forces, none possessed greater political influence than the Praetorian Guard. Originally established by Augustus as the personal bodyguard of the princeps, the Praetorians were stationed in the capital itself. Their proximity to the centers of power gave them immense influence over Roman politics. They affected the emperor's decisions, intimidated their opponents, and occasionally assassinated them. By the late 2nd century, the Praetorian Guard had become one of the most powerful and corrupt institutions in the Roman world. The last of the 5 good emperors was Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher emperor. Following his death in 180 AD, he was succeeded by his son, Commodus. Unlike his father, Commodus proved to be a deeply controversial ruler. His increasingly erratic behavior alienated many members of the Roman elite, and on the final day of 192, he was assassinated. The Praetorian Guard, together with the Senate, then proclaimed the elderly General Pertinax emperor, as he promised the Praetorians substantial donatives. However, Pertinax was a strict and disciplined soldier. He attempted to restore order within both the army and the government after years of extravagance and mismanagement. The Praetorians, however, would have none of it. His reforms quickly made him unpopular among the very men responsible for protecting him. On the 28th of March 193, the Praetorian Guard stormed the Imperial Palace, demanding their donatives. Pertinax attempted to reason with them, but his words failed to calm them. During the confrontation, one of the Praetorians drew his sword and killed the emperor. With Pertinax dead, the Roman Empire suddenly found itself without a ruler. What followed would become one of the most infamous episodes in Roman history. According to the historian Cassius, the Praetorians effectively auctioned off the imperial throne to the highest bidder. 2 contestants emerged, Marcus Didius Severus Iulianus and Titus Flavius Sulpicianus. Sulpicianus was a distinguished Roman senator who had served as a governor of Asia and later as urban prefect of Rome. Most importantly, he was the father-in-law of Pertinax. Julianus came from an aristocratic family from Mediolanum and was connected to some of the most influential circles of Roman society. As a young man, he was raised in the household of Domitia Lucilla, the mother of Marcus Aurelius. Throughout his early career, he enjoyed the support of the imperial family and advanced rapidly through the ranks of the Roman state. He served as a military tribune, quaestor, aedile, and praetor before receiving important military commands on the Rhine frontier. During a period of Germanic incursions, he governed Belgica and successfully organized the defense of the province against the Cauci tribe. Later, he governed Dalmatia, Lower Germany, Bithynia, and Africa. In 175, he became consul alongside Pertinax. By the time Pertinax was killed, Julianus was approaching 60 years of age and had spent nearly 4 decades serving the Roman state. He was one of the most experienced senators in the empire. While Sulpicianus negotiated from inside the Praetorian camp, Julianus made his offers from outside its walls. The 2 men competed for the loyalty of the soldiers, each attempting to outbid the other. Eventually, Julianus promised every soldier 25,000 sesterces, an enormous sum by Roman standards. The Praetorians accepted his offer and proclaimed him emperor. Whether the episode was truly as dramatic as later writers described remains uncertain. We should remember that Cassius Dio was strongly hostile toward Julianus and ruled under the Severan dynasty, which had every reason to portray the former emperor in a negative light. Whether the event truly resembled an auction or whether the Praetorians simply approached Julianus and secured from him the same sort of donatives that Pertinax had promised them remains a matter of debate. The Senate reluctantly confirmed the elevation of Julianus. His wife and daughter were granted the title Augusta, and his son-in-law was appointed urban prefect. At the same time, he sought to strengthen his legitimacy by presenting himself as a continuation of the Antonine dynasty, with the Praetorians even hailing him as Commodus. But from the very beginning, his reign faced serious problems. The people of Rome despised him. Many believed that he had somehow been involved in the death of Pertinax, despite the lack of convincing evidence. Others viewed him as a usurper who had simply purchased supreme power. Crowds shouted insults as he appeared in public, and stones were thrown at him in the streets. In the circus, spectators openly called for other men to become emperor. According to some accounts, Julianus endured these insults with remarkable restraint. Even more dangerous were the governors commanding Rome's provincial armies. Within days, Septimius Severus, governor of Pannonia, was proclaimed emperor by his troops. Soon afterward, the governor of Syria also received the support of his soldiers. Julianus suddenly found himself confronting rivals who possessed something he lacked: powerful armies. Of these challenges, Severus posed the greatest threat. His legions were closer to Italy, and he wasted little time. In April of 193, he began marching toward Rome. Julianus sought support from the Senate, strengthened the city's defenses, and tried to organize resistance. But the Praetorian Guard had grown accustomed to the comforts of Rome and showed little enthusiasm for facing battle-hardened frontier legions. As Severus advanced, support for the emperor rapidly collapsed. Julianus repeatedly attempted negotiation. He sent envoys to Severus and sought a peaceful settlement. In a final effort to avoid civil war, he even proposed that they share imperial power, but Severus refused. With every passing day, more soldiers and officials abandoned the emperor. By the end of May, Severus was approaching Rome. The Senate, recognizing the reality of the situation, turned against Julianus. His imperial powers were revoked, and Severus was declared emperor. On the 1st of June 193, a soldier entered the imperial palace with orders to execute Julianus. As he approached the former emperor with a sword in his hand, Julianus asked, "But what evil have I done? Whom have I killed?" The soldier, unmoved by his words, raised his sword and struck him down. By order of Septimius Severus, the body of Julianus was returned to his wife and daughter for burial, while his memory was officially condemned by the Senate and his portraits and statues were removed. Thus ended the reign of Didius Julianus, which had lasted little more than 2 months. To some, he was a greedy opportunist who reaped the consequences of his actions. To others, he was a capable and experienced statesman who sought to restore the empire. Whatever his intentions may have been, his fate serves as a stark reminder of the dangers of a political system in which authority rests primarily upon military power, and in which the ambitions of individuals can prove stronger than the institutions meant to preserve stability and order.